So the final stage of this leaf is the finishing touches really, and the very fine detail, which is mostly done with small brushes. It's possible that you may need to put light washes over a leaf at the end, but don't do it unless it's absolutely necessary, because sometimes it can dull it quite considerably and pull it together a bit too much. And when you're working on the finer details at the end, I have to work with a magnifier, so I'm going to try and position it out of the way. And we're talking about here really refining some of the markings and defining some of the veins. Areas like just pulling out these veins, and you don't do them all the way down, you just where they're apparent is what's important. Some of the edges here need to be just defined. There should be no ragged edges whatsoever. No overpaints where you've gone over the edge. If you do have anything like that, try and clean it up as best you can, but try not to do it in the first place, because nothing looks worse than you can see where you've repaired around the edges if it's scruffy, so try not to make it scruffy in the first place. And there's quite a lot of blemishes and markings in this leaf as well. Some of them I won't include, some of them don't look particularly good. It just generally needs deepening in places and defining. Pop a few of those blemishes in. And deepen around the veins, using exactly the same techniques as before, but a little bit more refined again. And when you're dealing with a shine, the more pronounced that shine is, the stronger it is, the harder the edge should be up against it. So with a soft sheen, it's a very soft gradation into the highlight, whereas with a hard shine, it's a harsher. You can see I'm working around those veins slightly. So it's not a white vein, it's a dark vein, but there's still like an area of lightness around it. I'm also trying to get a bit of that texture that's there as well. It's got quite a nice texture. And deepening it as well. Now if you were to try and do this with a wash, you wouldn't get that same depth of colour as you can get with this technique. So there should be absolutely no overpaints. Nothing should ever go over that outside edge. And if you work carefully enough, that shouldn't happen. And if you're not using washes, there's less chance of it happening. You're just using washes in the early stages. And for me, the leaves, the quality of the leaves is really the measure of a good painting, because it's important that you do the preparation before you do a painting of anything. You should know exactly how you're going to approach those leaves by studying them first. Don't just start painting flowers and then think, oh, you know, the leaves are an afterthought. They shouldn't be. Take that needle point again and just go down that centre. So if you work slowly enough and carefully enough and you're methodical about it, there shouldn't be any real issues with it. can shrink some of these highlights down now. So if you start off with them slightly bigger than you need them, then you can take them down. You can't make them bigger, but you can make them smaller. So it's always better to have them a wee bit bigger than you need. I'm just putting some blue in that one that runs down there. And not all over it, just very sort of lightly placed. Just taking a damp brush and softening off some of that dry brushwork. Trying to keep a hold of that texture in it. And bar some small markings and various bits. I'll call it a day at that. Just give you the general idea. There's a few sort of light bits here, and I wouldn't be opposed to using a very small amount of white in those because it gives that nice grey appearance. Just a wee bit of body colour in it. That would be the last thing that you do.